All right, we're ready. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Welcome, Antoine Thompson, Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition. Thank you for joining us today for our monthly industry meeting. We're excited for you to join us. We have some amazing speakers today. We're going to talk a lot about corporate responsibility, sustainability, and ESG priorities for some of two Fortune 500 companies that are doing some amazing work to protect our environment and to protect the future of all Americans. So we're really excited that they can join us today. The air we breathe, the water that we drink, and the land that we live on is extremely important. So we want to thank them for joining us today. As always, I want to share a few announcements and also some funding opportunities as well. So first, next, first we have on September 11th, we'll have our next industry meeting. We'll talk about the Mid-Atlantic Electrification Project that will be September 10th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Right here on Zoom. Secondly, we will have on September 12th, we'll have the Drive Electric DMV Prince George's chapter meeting. Happy hour. It's not a meeting, it's a happy hour. Um, Kicking off Drive Electric Month. So look forward to that event, which will take place at 4400 Forbes Boulevard, uh, Prince George's County, Maryland. And that's going to be in Lanham, Maryland, as well. So you can sign up and attend that event. It is free. We'll also have some information tables. We'll have some electric cars and vehicles out there for people as well. So two big events. September 11th, we'll have our next focus will be on electrification. We're going to talk about all the things we learned from trying to put electric charging stations, working with fleets, working with community organizations and um, uh, underserved areas as well. And then on September 12th, we will have our kickoff for Drive Electric Month with a big happy hour. So save the date if you want to be a sponsor for that event. We want to bring some door prizes as well. It should be nice for that happy hour as well. September 30th, we're going to have a job fair at the Westphalia Community Center in Upper Marlboro from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So save the date for that as well. We will also be hosting again our annual event with Evie Noir at the Congressional Black Caucus. That event is going to be on Wednesday, September 24th. And so if you're interested in helping to sponsor that event, let us know. That should be a nice event as well. The big event of the year, of the fall, is going to take place on Thursday, October 23rd. We will have our annual conference. Will be at Martin's Crosswinds in Greenbelt, Maryland. So that's going to be an exciting event, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're going to have lots of panels, workshops, and awards luncheon, ride and drive, vehicle showcase, VIP reception. We're going to give away scholarships for all of you who want to donate. Everything from free charging stations, which we're working on trying to get a couple electric cars and flex vehicles and other vehicles to give away that day. So October 23rd, it should be a really good event. We're also going to have three different tracks of panels in the afternoon, plus in the morning. As I mentioned, we'll have also our awards luncheon, and we're going to give away $10,000 in scholarships to 10 um, uh, college students as well. So they'll be there and their families. So you can register for the conference, the Clean Energy, Clean Transportation Conference. Uh, on our website, and I think it'll be in the chat as well. So save the date, October 23rd. We do need people to buy ads. You can exhibit there. You can help bring a vehicle, and you can sponsor something, whether it's the luncheon, coffee, snacks, exhibit, vendor, or donate door prizes, or help underwrite one of the receptions or the luncheon or something like that. So October 23rd. You'll be getting phone calls, emails, spread the word. Our goal is to get 500 people there. So last year, I think we had a little over 250. This year, we're trying to get between 250 and 500. And as they always say, don't meet me there, beat me there. Last thing I want to mention about a couple of funding announcements. Okay, money, 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 money. Before I go right to our group. Let me just pull up these funding announcements. All right, here we go. And I'll put some of these in the chat as well. So DC Transportation Alternatives by DC Department of Transportation, DDOT. They have a funding opportunity, city funded, administered for traditional transportation projects like pedestrian and bicycle facilities, safe routes to school, trail conversion, streetscapes as well. And so they have it's a 2-year cycle, amount available up to $125,000. There's a DC Department of Housing Community Development has some grants of applications are due for renovations and repairs for environmental hazards at properties. You can get up to $350,000. Maryland Department of Transportation also has a program, Transportation Alternatives Program as well, and they have applications that are due on October 1st to create bicycle pedestrian facilities, restore historic transportation buildings, and also convert abandoned railway corridors to mitigate highway runoff. And those applications are due on October 1st. Maryland Energy Administration also has some money for buildings, and they have $6.8 million available. These funds can be used for libraries, hospitals, grocery stores, churches, etc. Very, very broad. Lastly, I want to go to the state of Virginia. They have an infrastructure grant by the VA Department of Agriculture for consumer services. There are grants up to $50,000 as well. Then they also have a transportation alternatives program through VDOT, which has funding available up to $1 million per project. And those applications are due on September 15th. Those particular, that is for non-motorized travel choices and safety and other things that protect the environment. So lots of funding. We'll put many of these in the chat, and for some reason, and we'll also email these out to everyone that registered for today. Okay, so without further ado, I want to go right into our speakers for today. The first is Lakendra McNair, is currently Senior Vice President, Head of Climate Resilient Communities at M&T Bank, where she develops and executes the bank's strategy to play a key role in preparing communities for and helping them through the impacts of climate change and economic transition to a low carbon economy. She partners with internal and external stakeholders to execute and scale this strategy by supporting awareness, preparedness, and response adaptation for community climate resilience. And we're glad that she they were a kind host for our opening reception in Baltimore this year. and she has been a great supporter and partner, and we're looking to do more in the Baltimore, Washington area with M&T Bank. Um, Jim Dankowski, former chair of the board of Greater Washington Region Clean Cities and big partner and supporter of our organization. His current role as Eaton's federal government marketing director oversees the strategic planning, value proposition development, and customer engagement for the government sector. With 45 years experience in electrical power distribution and control industry, he acknowledges his knowledge has delivered unique and creative solutions that support Eaton's clients with their energy initiatives and facility systems optimization efforts. And one of the things I was just looking at the other day, in years past, we've had some workforce development training at his site. We want to try to get that going before the year is over, especially with his office is right between Baltimore and DC. And let's make that a goal to try to do some type of training with his office, either in Baltimore or at that or at his current location. So let's try to make that happen. That would be great. So without further ado, we're going to go right into our first speaker, Lakendra. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Antoine, and thank you, everyone, for joining this afternoon. Again, Lakendra McNair. I lead our climate resilient community work here at M&T Bank. I'm going to start by dropping a link in the chat, which is the 2023 sustainability report. Our 2024 report should be released within the next month. So you'll see a lot of live updates and some of the things I might talk about today in that report as well. But essentially what I wanted to start with is kind of to give you guys an overview about our Office of Sustainability and how we approach this work. We have 7 priorities that are part of the sustainability strategy. And when you take a look at those, if you take a look at the link, most of those priorities are somewhat the same when you start looking at the banking industry. Financing an equitable economy, attract and develop and retain talent, colleague leadership and customer diversity. Those 3 are our social components of the priority for our strategy. And then we have 4 environmental. Integrate climate risk, grow climate finance, reduce our carbon footprint. And the last priority, which is the work that I lead, supporting climate resilient communities. So today, what I'll talk about is a lot of what we're doing in that space in my work around supporting climate resilient communities, which I think is really important as you all on the line are constituents of the local and regional community. There's been a lot of changes over the last 8 months. So there's been a cut in a lot of funding for our local communities when it comes to a lot of these sustainability priorities, environmental, and even some social. So there's been a huge focus around community resilience and how we plan a role in that space. In my work with supporting climate resilient communities, like Antoine described in the bio, it's really how do we make sure that we are playing a role in our community with helping them prepare for, withstand, and respond and adapt to extreme weather events and climate change. And while we do that, how do we also play a role in helping them transition to a low carbon economy? This work is about 2 years old. It was a strategy and a framework that I built here. And after I've gone in the community, done a lot of research, looked at a lot of climate action plans, listened to a lot of community members and constituents, one of the 3 things that we thought that would be really important is making sure that this new muscle in the bank from an internal perspective and external was very clear and digestible. So we broke the work into 3 parts: awareness, preparedness, and also response/adaptation. So with the awareness piece, all 3 of those pillars have an internal component and an external component. It's one of me in this space, in this role as we introduce this work. So how do we make sure that we are educating our employees about this same work and environmental stewardship? So from an awareness perspective, a lot of that internally is how do we make sure that we are creating a culture in the bank where folks are starting to think about climate resilience, community resilience, and environmental stewardship in the lens that they do their work every day. We are a bank for our communities, so the work that we do in our communities, one of the things that we have to make sure that we start looking at is what are the priorities of our communities when we think about environmental stewardship. We know that there's a huge impact of extreme weather events and climate change across our footprint. So how do we make sure that the folks on the ground are aware about some of the things that are happening, the priorities, and also just give them basic education around our environmental priorities. So we've instituted educational training across the enterprise to start teaching folks about just the basics of climate change, climate risks, environmental stewardship, priorities, different things like that. So we've instituted a lot of that internally to bring awareness so that we could scale the work beyond our office. I think that's a very important piece when you are a staple in a community, to make sure that the folks on the ground are starting to understand the work. And it's becoming a part of the culture of what we do and how we do well in our community. So awareness in that space and an internal perspective is some of the things that we're doing there. From an external perspective, which is very important, and Antoine, thank you. You attended about 2 years ago. We started what is called Climate Resilient Community Stakeholder Roundtables. And we started to institute that across the footprint in some shape or form, customizing it based off of the geography and what's best for that community. But we started our first one here in Greater Washington in 2023 in December. And we wanted to make sure that we had a very vast attendance and representation across all sectors. So we had public sector, private. We wanted to make sure we had small businesses in that space, community partners, and local agencies and utilities. So Antoine was in attendance there, and we had some community partners there. And a lot of that was facilitating conversations so that we could hear what were the priorities of each sector in this space when it comes to community resilience. What are some of the obstacles? And then also making sure that there was an opportunity for us to build an ecosystem where folks could network and exchange information and resources, which is a very pivotal thing in this space, in this day and time, making sure that we understand how we can share resources or be more innovative and collaborate across regions in some spaces. And what we found out of that was some of the priorities that we needed to focus here on in the District of Columbia in this region. Out of that, what we've done is we've partnered and made a substantial contribution to the first community-led resilience hub here in DC in Ward 7, F.H. Fauntleroy Enrichment Center and Resilience Incubator. If you haven't heard about it, it's an amazing gem in the backseat of our community in Ward 7. And really trying to understand how we can build awareness and support them in that socially vulnerable neighborhood that's probably been underinvested and not tapped into too much. So, and they're also in a high flood area. So how do we really partner with them to make sure that we bring the full breadth of the bank to their organization with helping them convene, connect, and curate innovative solutions? The next area I'll focus on, which is I think a very big one in this space now, and you guys are probably hearing a lot more about this, is preparedness. One of the things with preparedness that's really, I would say, a priority in this pillar is how do we make sure that we are helping our small businesses start thinking about resilience and preparedness. That has been a really eye-opener, I would say, for the last couple of years since I've been in this role. After we think about disasters, a lot of the floods and things that you've seen, and a lot of what we heard since as we respond to these issues, that a lot of businesses did not have the proper insurance. They did not have an emergency evacuation plan. They didn't even understand the priorities or that flood was a consistent threat for the area. So a lot of the preparedness and thinking about resilience just wasn't there. So from a preparedness perspective, how do we start being proactive when it comes to disaster response and helping support our business community with tools and resources and a network to be more prepared for disruptions, overall disruptions. So it could be natural disasters, supply chain, it could even be cyber. So we created a toolkit to help our small business RMs and our managers that are the front line of our communities start to be able to find resources and tools to be able to share with their business banking and consumer customers to make sure that they start focusing on business resilience and preparedness. So that's been a very, very big piece in that space with the preparedness pillar for us. The last pillar I'll just touch on briefly before I give you some examples of some of the work that we're doing is response and response adaptation. I think response has always been a great space for a lot of corporations in this space. When things happen, we are first responders by nature to resolve and enact, which is a very critical piece when it comes to critical crises and disasters. So how do we start better understanding when it comes to response? What is the immediate need for our internal stakeholders and then our external stakeholders? When we're looking at our external stakeholders, what we found is usually if it's a natural disaster or FEMA declared disaster or state disaster, there's a lot of attention the first 3 months. And then after that, 6 months, 10 months, 18 months, depending on the community, the attention, the visibility around the needs, the resources in the community has kind of dwindled. So for example, right now, what we're working on is Western Port, Maryland. I think you guys may have been familiar with the floods that took over Allegheny and Garrett County back in May. You have Western Port, Maryland, with a median income, household income of $42,000 and a very economically stricken area that is trying to rebuild. And in this space, they haven't received any funding for FEMA right now. So when you think about a township, their resources in that type of space is very minimal. So how do we make sure that we understand what are their immediate needs after the crisis? And then now we're entering into 3 months. How can we best support the community? And sometimes that's with funding. Sometimes that's with visibility. When I went to Western Port, they said, can you help tell our story? We need to get this out here. We have roads that are still closed. If you think about it, their firefighters are volunteer. The entire department is volunteer firefighters. And then they have EMS. So you're thinking about a community there with very little resources that have been devastated by floods without a constant stream of funding and support. So creating, I would say, a partnership and also leveraging the ecosystem. So some of the things that we're doing with Western Port, we're going to look at we're going to partner in with an organization called Food on the Stove that's here locally in DC, that was started by a DC firefighter who teaches about health and things like that. We're going to have them go with us to Western Port and create a community engagement and also help with some of the camaraderie, because to be quite honest, it's also a transition and some intersectionality with health and also mental health. So how can we go in and support that community and bring awareness and also bring corporate partners? So if you're looking to get involved in Western Port, if that's somewhere that's in your geographical location, they are in serious need of some recovery efforts. And we as a bank is just looking at how we can bring some of our human capital, some of our resources. And that resources also is convening our network and our partners, our organizations that we work with to support that organization. So Antoine, I kind of close by saying now is a time where community resilience is going to be a huge, huge focus. And as corporate organizations, I would say if you're looking for organizations here locally, take a look at some of those organizations that are economically impoverished and also those that may be in disaster zones. Take a look at the preparedness piece. How can you be a part of the proactive solutions? And sometimes it's not just funding. I don't know if I had mentioned, but that firehouse, they don't have their rescue squad machine. And that wasn't covered in their insurance. So they're trying to dispute that. But you can donate items, you can donate things like that. Really, one of the biggest things that I've learned is how do you go into the community and ask how you can help? I think that was a conversation with the LA fires. There were a ton of people donating things, but it wasn't what the immediate need was. So when it comes to community resilience and we think about response and adaptation, the biggest thing that we've done in that space is making sure that we are thinking hyper-local. We have 27 community bank markets, so we go into each market differently and customize how we show up in that community based off of what the community partners say is most important to them. And to be honest, where can we play and where can we win and be consistent? So thank you guys for your time. I think, Antoine, that's about at my 15-minute mark, but we'll open up for questions later, right?
Thank you. You covered a lot. And you covered some great information as well. I want to go to Jim, if you can hold tight. You got a lot of good emojis in there, things that many of us had not thought about. But let's go to Jim. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Antoine, and thank you everyone for joining today. What I'd like to do is maybe start off with just kind of an overview of Eaton Corporation and a little bit about our commitment to sustainability and what that means. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill down to what I do day in and day out as it pertains to sustainability. But more importantly, I'm going to try to put together the pieces as to how we work with the community and specifically the Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition on advancing sustainability efforts. So with that, Eaton has actually been reporting, and I actually, thank you, LaKendra, great presentation, by the way. And after you said you were posting your sustainability link in there, I did the same thing. So if you want to look at Eaton's 2024 sustainability report, it's in the link. With that said, I'm just going to cover it at a high level, but there's a lot of details in the report. Eaton has actually been publishing a sustainability report since 2006. Okay, so we're into our 18th year of reporting our sustainability. We have developed goals around UN and the International Federation of Financial Standards, as well as our own corporate standards that we meet. So we're very connected to not only ourselves from the standpoint of how we're measuring our sustainability efforts, but also from a global perspective, how do we evaluate ourselves versus other companies and other organizations? With that said, within our ESG framework, we've established some pretty lofty goals from the standpoint of what we would like to hit in 2030. And those are goals around reducing greenhouse gas emissions 50% based on a 2018 baseline. Also, making sure that 100% of our manufacturing sites are waste to landfill certified so that we reduce the impact on the environment from the standpoint of waste. We're continually investing in R&D around sustainability products and service solutions. We have a goal of hitting $3 billion by 2030. Right now, we're at about $1.3 billion. So there's an investment that's going on with Eaton when we start to take a look at sustainability. And then finally, just a 2050 goal of ours is to be a net zero emission company by 2050. So that's a pretty ambitious goal, but one that we're on track to do based on where we're at and how we're trending and the investments that we're making to get there. Finally, from a personal standpoint, from a personal but also a people standpoint, on average, every employee in Eaton receives 12 plus hours of training around sustainability. Okay, so that could be around ethics compliance, that could be around design criteria and so forth, as well as we offer and we have what we call listening and learning sessions where we have the employees come on board to talk a little bit about what sustainability means to them and their role and what they're doing to support sustainability efforts. And that could be everything from product development to recruiting, training, awareness from the standpoint of how our impact and our company ethics apply, not only here in the United States, but across the world. You may not know, but Eaton operates in 160 different countries. We have 95,000 employees and we manufacture all over the world. So the dynamic element of that is understanding that we have so many different cultures that are engaged in our efforts from the standpoint of delivering sustainability solutions, we also have to have an understanding of those different cultures and how those cultures can really accelerate the solution sets that we come up with. So from a corporate standpoint, we have a very solid plan. We have a culture that I really enjoy and embrace from the standpoint of how we look at sustainability and how we deliver those sustainability solutions to our customers. Now, a little bit about what I do and how I work with the coalition and its members, and from a small region perspective, but then from a broader perspective. When you start to think about solution sets around sustainability, some of the areas that are very popular today are EV infrastructure from the standpoint of supporting that transition to the EV vehicles and having the support, the structure, the infrastructure to support that. One of the areas that Eaton is very engaged in is based on the product solutions we provide. We provide what we would call the balance of the electrical system. In other words, the power and the controls and the software to be able to deliver the electrical power and the solution for that EV charging vehicle, right? So that could be as simple as something that can be plugged in at your home from the standpoint of a level 1 charger that is normally sold with an EV car, or you could upgrade to a level 2 charger, which Eaton provides, but also other companies provide as well. But when you get into larger systems from the standpoint of how are we going to deliver not 1, 2, or 3 charging stations, but maybe it's 50 charging stations and they've got to charge overnight, they're a fleet system and so forth, that's where you've got to start to think a little bit from the standpoint of how are we going to get power from the utility or the power that we have and be able to deliver that power so that we can charge those fleet vehicles during specific periods of time. So we look at things from the standpoint of what the customer requires from the standpoint of power, what the power requirements are for that fleet. How do we balance that power given whatever the utility may have available to us at that point in time? So there's unique solutions that are being developed today around how do we support fleet installations. And those also include things like battery storage. Like if the fleet is out all day from the standpoint of making deliveries and the fleet comes back, what if we have a battery storage system there that is actually consuming power so that when the fleet comes back in, rather than fully burdening the utility with charging that fleet, we use the battery storage system that's been charged during the day to help offset the requirements of getting that fleet recharged and ready for tomorrow's operation. So that's just kind of one of those simple, I call it a simple solution. It's not necessarily simple from the standpoint of integrating it, but if that's a way that we can help balance power, balance the offset, and not put such a burden on the utility from the standpoint of delivering power, that's how we keep the reduction of utilizing energy based on the existing infrastructure and keep that sustainability from the standpoint of the overall sustainability of that fleet in focus. Okay, so that's kind of one area that we focus on, and within the coalition, it's always exciting to me that we connect those dots, right? We connect the contractor, we connect the end user, we connect the utility with how do we address this? How do we address this opportunity? The other area that I focus on heavily is looking at the grid today and what the requirements of the grid are tomorrow based on the growing demands that are put on the grid. And one of the things that we support is looking at and working with customers on integrating different types of distributed energy resources. And that could be everything from solar power to wind, to fuel cells, to natural gas generation, and looking at how we can basically provide power to an infrastructure project or a campus without having to put an additional burden on the grid and the utility to generate more power to supply that infrastructure project and at the end of the day, that operation. So what we're seeing a trend in today, and in some of the areas, it's really around data center environments, is them looking at utilizing distributed energy resources to power their own data center. And if you don't know or are not aware, but data centers today, or I shouldn't say today, but maybe 10 years ago, the average data center used about 4 megawatts of power. With AI today, they're looking at that being 10 times. So you're looking at a data center that requires 40 megawatts of power to be able to operate and serve its customers. So where's that 40 megawatts of power going to come from? So one of the things that we look at is how can we support that data center environment, those data center operational users, to basically have the power to supply that data center. And what's happening is that they're looking at different ways to use distributed energy resources rather than the grid, or offset some of that with their own resources to support the data center environment. So that to me is a very fascinating approach from the standpoint of how do we continue to look at different ways to basically keep power, right, and keep the emissions from generating power at a local level, and supporting yet the operational requirements and the consumer requirements that we're seeing today. And then finally, I'd just like to talk a little bit about, because we try to work on the front end of developing solutions for our customers that maybe they haven't seen or that they are seeing. And when we get into those design solutions, one of the things that we incorporate into our design solutions, and if it's around a product, this will be a little bit easier to grasp, for me at least, is that we look at the sustainability of that product and the product that we're developing. And when I say sustainability, it's like the materials we use. Are the materials reusable? The way we package and deliver those products into the day, are those sustainable delivery packages from the standpoint of reuse and so forth? So we look at the sustainability from not only the start, when we're looking at the design of the product, all the way to the final delivery. And that is something that you don't normally think about, but when you think about it from a sustainability perspective, and the materials that you're using, and are they reusable, and how do they fit into the ecosystem, makes a big difference. And finally, I'd just like to summarize it with Eaton's corporate responsibility around sustainability, and the oversight it has, and how it incorporates the employees as part of the process and part of the plan on delivering sustainable solutions, whether they're through community involvement like myself with the coalition, or through product development. But at the end of the day, it's how we're servicing our customers and our clients and the community from the standpoint of providing those kind of sustainable solutions that we need today to keep the environment safe and something that's healthy for our future.
Awesome, Jim. I wanted to give just before I go on to some other announcements, and also wanted to call on a couple of our stakeholders today. But I wanted to ask you and Lakendra some questions. If folks have any questions for them, please put them in the chat as well. But I want to ask each of you a couple quick questions. And Jim, you get a chance to travel all around the world, and you have an extraordinary insight on different things as it relates to sustainability. What type of hope can you give to this audience today with all the things that are going on nationally and internationally? What hope can you give message to them, especially as a global company? Europe is doubling down on sustainability. What hope can you give to them? And you've been in the clean energy movement for 40 plus years. What hope can you give to the folks about sustainability right now?
it's just, I think it's adopted it. It's the right thing to do. And when in my travels, sometimes it's hard to find, right? But a lot of times people will be talking about, well, how can we conserve more energy? How can we conserve more power? How can we be better in the utilization of the resources we have? A lot of times that doesn't link and you think, oh, that's sustainable. No, that is sustainable. That's what it's all about. And what I love about that is that that's kind of like within Eaton, what you see is that culture, and sometimes you don't even think it's there, but it is. Sometimes you just got to bring it to the forefront. And at the same time, it's becoming a driver. Again, people may not talk about sustainability, but you start to think about the climate, the power usage, the environment, all those things evolve around that. And when you see that and you start to talk to other people, again, it may not come out as sustainability, but you kind of smile and you say, they get it, they got it. And we've got to find ways to support that, whether that's, through Eaton supplying us products and services, or sometimes it's just guidance in a conversation around how we can do things better. So I would say that it's there. Sometimes we just don't see it. You just got to step back sometimes and ask yourself, wow, they've got it. They understand what they're doing. And it really does involve the environment and the community and how we can provide that better sustainable future for our children.
And I want to pause. You must have been reading my mind. I want to personally thank you. Eaton has been really kind. We have a Future Green Leaders program. We're in 4 schools in our region and looking to expand this fall into Baltimore. In every quarter, Eaton has contributed money for us to go talk to high school students in DC and in Prince George's County. We're now going to be at 2 schools in Baltimore in the fall, 1 middle school, 1 high school. And so I want to thank you for Eaton's commitment. I can't share with you all in words how exciting it is to be in those classrooms throughout the school year talking to youth about sustainability, environmental stewardship, green careers, financial literacy. It's amazing to be able to do that. So I just wanted to say thank you for Eaton's partnership on supporting our Future Green Leaders program.
Antoine, you're welcome. And by the way, just for the group, the coalition has really expanded into my hometown, Baltimore. Okay. And I couldn't be happier about the fact that the coalition has an office there, and we're really working the ground there from the standpoint of what the coalition can do for the community. And I can't thank you enough for Antoine for that vision. You're fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we will also be hosting a Drive Electric Baltimore event in September at our office. So we'll announce that at our September meeting at the end of September. Lakendra, M&T Bank, hometown bank from where I'm from, Buffalo, New York. You all are just all over the country, especially the Mid-Atlantic and East Coast. But what, that was a really gut-wrenching story about a town. And as a financial institution, how do you see you all yourselves, not just lending, providing grants, but helping people protect their assets? You all do a lot of mortgages, right? And how do we help protect both the residential, commercial, and public property during these increasing storms, whether it's floods, whether it's snowstorms, whether it's tornadoes? I mean, we used to never get tornadoes. Now we're getting them 3, 4, 5 times a year, right? And they're getting stronger and stronger. What else is the company thinking about, the bank thinking about on how it can educate and inform people about this present threat and danger to all of us?
Thanks, Antoine. I think it goes back to what I had mentioned earlier. We have 22,000 plus employees, and we have an office of sustainability. Sometimes what you see and feel is that the sustainability efforts of an organization is pushed through that office or is pushed through the director. That's why I said earlier with my work, it's really important that we engage our employees and build awareness, because those are the individuals that are in the branches that's helping the mom and pop shops, that's giving the mortgages, that's also helping us, clients and consumers apply for the mortgages and helping our small businesses. So if we can start to create a culture where we are thinking about sustainability, whether it's in the long term, what does it mean to be sustainable? At the end of the day, it's a quality of life in a shared community. And if we're a bank for our communities, it's going to be really important to make sure that that lens, it doesn't always have to be just environmental. It is an intersection between social and environmental, but holistically, regardless of what aisle you're on, right, whether you believe in it or not, we all believe in a quality of life. So how do we start to educate our employers so that they can start thinking about where can they participate in the sustainability spectrum? Where can they have an impact, whether it's educating consumers about flood insurance when they're out there? That's something that comes up automatically, but not just educating them. Do you have a connection? Can I refer you to someone? Being a part of those things. I think a lot of it is being present in the communities with community partners that you are engaged with, and then recognizing that we play a critical role, which is something really special. I've been in banking 30 years, but we do this very well here at M&T. We are conveners, connectors, and curators. And so we won't always be the largest check in the room, but you'll see dynamics around community connections and meetings and shared knowledge and those type of things, and really making sure that you follow up. Those are some of the things that we do well. And so you got to kind of stick with what you do well, see how you can scale that, and make sure that, we're educating the community and also talking about preparedness. We do products and services very well. That's the nature of the beast for banking. What we also got to make sure that we're thinking about is how do we think about the new day around resilience and preparedness? I can't stress that enough. And sometimes it just thinks about like COVID. When you think about COVID and the response to that, a lot of it was just making sure that there was clear communication and there was transparency and that people had access to tools and resources to get things done. That's what we got to do instead of response. We got to start pivoting that and changing it so that we can start sharing and talking about those things when we talk about preparedness and resilience. We can't build back better with people that aren't aware of the future issues or potential threats in the community. So that's something that we are starting to really double down on. I think Jim said the same thing with awareness, education, and just creating a lens so that the folks in the community can be empowered with tools and knowledge to share that knowledge with their community members and stakeholders.
Thank you. I see a few of our partners on. I want to thank you all for this great and tremendous insight. I wanted to give a couple of our partners a chance to give a quick industry update, something they they might want to share. Kim, if we could give Paul Winters a chance to say if he has any industry updates he'd like to share or any announcements. Are we able to unmute Paul at all?
Thank you, Antoine. In terms of industry updates, we are in the midst of, we just closed comments on the renewable fuel standard. The program is accounting for the expansion of biodiesel and renewable diesel and projecting use of more than 5 billion gallons in 2026. So that is a huge change in that program and a win for the industry. We anticipate that it will allow growth in the coming year and increased availability. We are, working on availability through in partnership with the Clean Cities coalitions, but I understand that funding for the coalitions is still in flux and a huge challenge. The coalitions are looking for support in the fiscal year 2026 budgets for continued funding and inviting industry support for a letter that's circulating to members of Congress. I think that's the only update I have for you, Antoine.
Thank you. Thank you. Just want to give you a chance to share some insight. Thank you for that. We can remute him. If we can call on Doughton, he's with FinEV. If we're working on another project together, if we can unmute Doughton, he can talk about the EV incentives. Many of them are going to expire on September 30th, and some at the end of the year. I want him to share some information that you all can share with your family, friends, and colleagues as well, which is really important. Some people think all the EV incentives are gone, but they are not. Would you like to share that and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. It's great to see you all again. Yeah, just like Antoine mentioned, September 30th is the end of the EV tax credit. And that means that the vehicles have to be in service by that date to qualify for the tax credit. And so that means we have 45 days, essentially, to be able to leverage the 7,500 for small vehicles and up to $40,000 of tax credit for mid to larger size class 1 to class 3 vehicles. So we're ever happy to continue working with GWR-CCC and GWR-CCC members to offer a fleet assessment. So feel free to reach out to me where we can help identify which types of your vehicles are best for electrification and provide the necessary funding to be able to help with that financing. We just got
And that's free, right? You didn't say that.
Yes, the fleet assessment is free to GWR-CCC members. That's what we're offering as being part of this great community. So
you heard that. If you got a fleet, big or small, don't get too crazy, but he will their company will help for 1 month only, a free fleet assessment to help you try to take advantage of these tax credits. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, put your information in the chat for everyone, okay, please? Yes, please do that. I wanted to give just a couple quick things. I wanted to give one more of our folks, Sade Dennis, with the U.S. Green Building Council. She has a conference coming up as well. No, if we can unmute her for one quick second, I want to give her a chance to mention that so much is going on with solar, wind, EVs, biofuels. Every day we got some ups and downs. You know, we made some progress with biofuels. US DOT actually kept the community infrastructure charging program going, so they're going to fully fund that. Made some tweaks. Some tweaks I agree with, some tweaks I don't agree with, but the money's moving forward, and we'll make sure it gets to the right places. But I want to give Sade a chance if we're able to unmute her. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Just
Good.
want to give you a chance as one of our partners to share a few things that you're working on really quick.
Well, first of all, thank you, Antoine, and thank you, Jim and Lakendra, for all of the information and the encouragement, quite frankly, that you all shared today. So, greetings, stakeholders. I'm Sade Dennis from the U.S. Green Building Council. And we do have a few exciting updates. I'm not sure if you guys know Energy Star, which is a huge program, tax incentives for the entire industry, was in great danger. But a couple weeks ago, there was a bipartisan resolution. And so far, so good. Energy Star has received some support, some ongoing funding. So we're excited about that. Antoine, you mentioned our upcoming conference. We have been holding our building transformation forums all across the country, and the DMV is no stranger as well. So circle in November 20th. We have our Building Transformation Forum, and its focus is going to be circularity and materials. It's going to be a great event, networking, tours, impactful sessions, and fireside chats. And we're excited to announce that it will be hosted at the Amazon headquarters. So just looking forward to a lot of stakeholders and partners coming together. As you all know, we need some encouragement. We need to be together, all hands on deck as we continue to fight the good fight and ensure that we have prosperity and resilience for all, which is what we do at the U.S. Green Building Council with partners like you and everyone that's here on the call today. So we're excited. You know, we know that we can do more together. Look forward to doing the great work with you, Antoine, as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And so in our last minute and a half, I want to first say thank you to all of our speakers. I want to also give a shout out to Carl Lisick all the way from Indiana. He's on Clean Cities in Indiana. Also want to say hello to Barry Carr all the way from Clean Cities in Syracuse, New York. I can't catch everyone that's on here, but we do have folks from all over the country that are here for this important conversation. I want you all to remember October 23rd is our annual Clean Energy and Transportation Conference. October 23rd, Martin's Crosswinds. You can register today. There'll be well over 10 or 15 different workshop panels, forums, breakout sessions, plenary sessions, awards luncheon, and VIP reception, ride and drive, vehicle showcase. Last year we had people from over 15 states. So come on out and register for the GWRCCC annual conference. I want to thank Lakendra McNair from M&T Bank. Keep up the great work. We want to get you speaking at one of our schools one day, you and Jim, either in Baltimore or the DC, Maryland part as well. And I also want to thank Jim Dankowski, who's been a longtime partner, member, leader, and GWRCCC. Without further ado, thank you all. I want to thank our team for putting on this wonderful event, and thank you all from tuning in from all over the U.S.